Hi and welcome to this DCP web tutorial. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a double exposure image using GIMP software. So let's load up GIMP, and on my desktop I've got this folder with these three images. I'll put links to these in the YouTube description. For now we'll drag and drop the picture of the woman into GIMP. So we've got this picture here. We're going to right click and add an alpha channel. So just right click on the layer and click add alpha channel. Then we'll right click on it one more time and duplicate the layer, and we'll right click again and duplicate it one more time, and then we'll hide these bottom two. We'll just hide them, yeah? So the first thing we want to do is go to color and we'll go to invert. So we see the image like this, so it's like a negative version, let's say. Then we'll go back to color and we'll go to levels, and we'll drag from this left hand side across, and we want to try and get most of the image white of the woman, yeah, as much of the content as white as possible. But if you go over the top you're going to lose stuff, right? So you want to make sure you don't lose too much of the detail. Something like this would be good. So around here we'll click OK, and then we'll get our paintbrush tool. So we'll click on paintbrush tool here, and then we'll make sure white is selected on the top layer, this top swatch. If it isn't, then you can click on it and just drag your mouse to the top left hand corner. Just drag the cursor to the top left, and that will make a white color here. Or you can put F's in here, all F's, 6 of them, and that will also make white. We'll click OK, and then we'll increase our brush size to something quite big like this, and we'll just paint as much of the bulk of the content white, and we'll reduce the brush size a bit. We can make it a bit smaller. We're just going to paint everything we want to keep. We're going to paint white. That's what we're doing right now. So all the big bits, normally what I do is get rid of all of the chunk, and then we'll do the edges afterwards. So get the main stuff done quickly, like this. And then we'll go, so we'll hold down the control key, we'll zoom in, and then we can use and if you set the hardness right, if you reduce the hardness, then you can get closer to the edge without too much problems. So this doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get as close as possible. You can increase the hardness if you want to get, reduce the size of the brush. And every so often, when you've done a section and you're happy with it, make sure you let go of the mouse wheel, the left mouse button. Let go of it every so often. So if you do like a bit of work like this, for example, and you go over, if you're letting go of the left mouse button every so often, you can undo that step using Control Z or Edit, Undo, Paintbrush. But if you hold down the mouse button and you do loads of work, and then let's say you do a whole big section and then you go off the canvas, and you've done all of this section here, when you press Control Z or undo, it's going to undo all of the things. So letting go of the mouse button every so often keeps that step or that section you've done in memory. That way if you make a mistake after you've done a big section, you can easily undo it. That's my advice. So normally I'll take a bit more time doing this, but it should be okay anyway. It should be fine. We can reduce the hardness a bit. Okay, that's not too bad. I would have cleaned this up a bit better, but that will do. There's a bit more down here. So we'll end up with something like this. So everything white we're going to keep, and now we need to make this background black. So what we'll do is go to color and we'll go to levels, and this time we'll drag from the left side something like this to about here. We don't want to go too far, you're going to start taking away the picture, right, and the detail. So you want to do something like this so you still maintain some of that detail, and click OK, and then go back to the paintbrush tool. If you see any artifacts in here, can you see, like here, just want to paint over them. I saw a little bit down here, it's a bit hard to see, but just make sure everything is white that you want to keep. That looks pretty good to me. Then we'll switch it over, so switch this brush over, click here so it's black at the top. If you don't see black, you can click on here and you drag your cursor to the very bottom and then click OK, and we can increase the size of the brush, and we're just going to paint this section here in black, and just down here as well. Let's make it black like this, and we'll do this top section here as well, a little bit here. Okay, so let's click on the move tool. That's kind of the default tool I always click on, and then we can use the middle mouse button to move the canvas towards the center, and we should go to file, save as, and we'll give this a name, right? So let's just call it double I'm just going to call my one double exposure. Let's put a hyphen there. Double exposure 01. You can name it whatever you like. Just save it in a folder. Click save. So we've got what we call a layer mask now. Yeah? This is what we're going to use it for. So what we'll do is we'll go to select all. In fact, what we should do is duplicate this layer first. So we're going to right click and duplicate. So we've got 2 copies of that layer mask. Yeah? In fact, we'll make 3 copies. There's no harm. Let's duplicate it one more time. So we've got 3 layer masks, and this background image, the original image, we'll make another copy of that as well. So let's duplicate one of those. So we've got 3 of the woman, just the normal image, and we've got these 3 layer masks. It's worth making some copies because we can do other effects with it afterwards. We can reuse it. So really what we're going to do is hide 2 of them. So we'll just hide 2, and we're going to show one of this woman. So we'll click this one here. So we've got this top one showing and this one here. It doesn't really matter which ones it is, but we want 2 of them showing. We'll click on this top layer because that's the one that's showing at the moment. We'll click on it. We'll do select all, and then so select all here, and then edit, copy, and then we'll hide this layer, and we can see the picture of the woman because we've enabled this layer. We've shown it here. So let's click on that layer. We're going to right click and go to add layer mask, and we want black full opacity, full transparency, and click add, and then press Ctrl V or edit paste. Now we can see the background's removed, right? So let's save this as a separate step. Save as, and we call it exposure 02. So we've got a second version. We'll retain our original version. We'll click save, and then we want to make this layer should be selected as default. We want to click this anchor here, so it anchors the floating layer down. And now we've got this transparent background. So what we want to do now is we'll go to our folder, and we've got these various pictures, right? So let's drag the picture of this. Let's just look at it. So it's like this sort of scene here, yeah? And we want to drag it into GIMP. So we've got this background here. We're going to drag that just below just one layer below the woman here, and we're going to drag it in one more time. So now we've got 2. Can you see there's 2 of them here now? So we've got 2 copies. We will click on, just enable this top one again. We'll select it again one more time, and we'll do select all again. So click select all. So we're selecting all of this content, edit, copy, and then we'll hide this one, we'll click on this autumn leaves, this top one here. The other one below it, we can hide it for now. So click on this layer, right click on it, add another layer mask, same black full transparency, click add, press Ctrl V or edit, paste. And then we want to click this anchor here. So if we hide this woman, we can see there's the trees and stuff behind her, right? And if we enable this layer below, then we just see the full background, the full image. So let's hide that layer, and we'll enable the top one as well, just above it, so we see the woman here. And then click on this top layer, this top one. Let's just go to File, Save As, and we'll save it as version 3. I like to save my work in steps, right? So when we look at the folder, we've got like 1, 2, 3. So if we ever come back to this project and we want to do certain edits to it at certain positions of our work, it's worth having 3 different versions of it. It's up to you, you don't have to do that, but it's your choice. So we'll click on this top layer, and then we're going to go to mode, and you can select these different options. So we can do something like screen, then you'll see the woman showing through, or we can do something like dodge. You can select different versions here, you can play around with them. Got like burn effect. Let's leave it on for now, screen, something like this, and then we'll enable this layer below it. Now it looks like the woman's, this is what we call a double exposure, right? So you can see the trees and everything behind her, but you can still see the silhouette of the woman, and it's like faded out. But now you can just click on this top layer, this top one, or this layer here of the woman. You can go around and start playing with this, so you can change like the opacity, you can reduce it or increase it. You can play around with all these different options. There's loads of different ones here. You have to really experiment with them and see what they do. You can read up on GIMP exactly what they're doing, but you can play around with these and get different effects. Got like this burn effect, overlay, and just play around with it and see which one you like, right? So go and experiment with that. And the reason why we created all these different layers is we can like change the style now. So we could hide this, we could like hide these 2 layers, for example, yeah, these 2 here. We could keep this layer enabled, this one here, and then we could go and drag a different picture in. So like take this sky, like these clouds and stuff. So we could drag that into GIMP. Now we've got these clouds showing here, and we could drag that down, and then you've got this clouds effect and this woman standing next to, well, with the trees and stuff, right? And then you could take this clouds layer and you could change the opacity of that one and enable the trees behind it. So you've got like these clouds, the trees, and then you've got this woman on the side. So you can go around and play around with these different options. We could disable this background. Let's disable this bottom one, so we get rid of the trees. The clouds one, we can set it to full opacity, so put it all the way to the top. So you can see the clouds now. We can right click here and we can do a duplicate layer. So now we've got these 2 clouds, and we could disable this layer here. So now we just see the woman, then you've got this sort of effect. But we can also click on this top layer here, enable it temporarily. So we click on this top one, we can go to select all, edit, copy, then disable it. Go to the clouds one here, and then we can right click and we can do a add layer mask, black full opacity, full transparency, click add, and then press Ctrl V to paste it, and then anchor it down. And then you can have like the clouds showing through, right? It depends on what mode you've set here. So right now it's set to overlay. We could set it to screen, and then you can see the clouds like this. and then we can enable the cloud background like this. So you need to go and experiment. There's so many different ways you can do this, and you can play around with this. Really, the key to this example, and the real thing that I'm trying to show you, not just the double exposure, but it's creating these layer masks, right? So you're creating a layer mask here. We're using this tool. Where is it gone? Add layer mask. So once you've got this cut out, this black and white, so we close all of these, just disable them all and click this one. This original image, what it's saying is everything black, remove it, and everything white, keep it, right? That's what it's really saying. Or we're creating that image, and then when we right click and we add a layer mask, we're selecting black for full transparency. So it's saying everything that's black is going to be transparent, but everything white we're going to keep. Yeah, so now we can just go to something like we can go to Pixelbay, for example, and we can search for anything we want, right? So let's look for let's have a look for flowers. So we could take this image here. Well, actually, let's look for something else. Let's try these roses and this butterfly thing. Let's try this one out. So we'll click on it. We'll click free download, and we'll select the option, download it. Tick this off to do that. We'll download this. I'll keep a copy of this image as well, so I'll add that into the YouTube description, so you can get that image as well if you want it. And we'll drag that image into our folder. Now we've got this picture of flowers, so we can drag the flowers into GIMP. Let's drag it to the bottom layer here, and we'll drag 2 copies. So we've got 2 of them, right? And we can go to File, Save. Let's just save it. So how would we do the layer masks now? If you think about it, all we'll do is click on this top layer. We'll go to Select All, Edit, Copy, and then we'll disable that layer. We'll go to this flowers. We'll right click, add a layer mask, make it black, full transparency. So anything that was in the image that we copied here, this image that we copied, the black will be transparent and the white will not be. So if we click add, and then we click Control V, or press Control V or edit paste, and then we anchor it down. Okay, we didn't create a let's see. Okay, so something went wrong there. Let's figure it out. Sometimes things go wrong, right? So what we'll do is we'll right click on this and delete it. Delete layer. And we've got 1 of these flowers left. We need to right click and add alpha channel first, because it needs a transparency layer. Then we can right click and duplicate this one, because now it has its transparency layer. Now in theory, we should be able to right click, add layer mask, black full transparency, click add. Now we can go to edit, paste, and anchor it down. And it should, oh, here we go. Okay, I think it worked the first time. The reason why it was a bit confusing is because the original, the full background is still showing here. So now you can see that's been cut out, right? Like this. And you should be able to enable this one here, and then we can see the transparency over the top. So that one isn't amazing, but you kind of get the idea, right? That's the kind of, I was trying to just give you the idea of how it's all working. So I prefer probably this one here. That's the one that I like. So you can go and experiment with that tool now, play around with it, see what works for you, and create your own double exposure images. And you can take a photograph of yourself and do this, right? It doesn't have to be a photograph you download. Just take a photograph, try and get it on a clean background, so it's something like on a wall where it's just white on the wall, or a plain color, and then it'll be easy for you to mask it off. So in this tutorial, let's just save this. We learned 2 things really. We learned how to do double exposure, but we also learned about layer masking, which is quite an important technique to use in GIMP when we want to create different types of artwork. So go and experiment, have fun playing around with these layer masks and these tools. I'll put all of the images that I've used in the YouTube description, and you can go around and experiment with this and create your own images and create different backgrounds. You can use a different person, but just use that same logic and that technique, right? Let's close this down, and I look forward to seeing you in the next DCP web tutorial.